This is the saddest fish I've ever seen. Man, he's terrified. This is a jawfish. They are the only fish in the world that literally builds their homes block by block, love using stackable materials to build their walls, and even build a door to their home every single night to stop enemies from getting in, just like we do in Minecraft. But this guy is living a nightmare, being stuck in an empty box with nowhere to hide, no way to follow your natural instincts, and no way to feel safe must be torture. So we're going to save him. We'll make him a custom-made tank, find out what he builds with real Minecraft blocks, and watch him transform from this stressed out fish into our cheeky little builder he was born to be. But you can't just get a fish and throw him into a new tank. There's a few things we absolutely need to do first. And the most important is probably installing a starter burrow for him. He is going to be so stressed out and scared that I want to give him a place he can immediately hide and feel safe in before we add in all his Minecraft blocks and let him build. Well, that's what I hope for at least. What the hell are you doing, boy? Now, to simulate the ocean, not only will we need to add in salt water, but we also need to use this special type of sand. It has a lot of important minerals in it, but mainly a lot of calcium, which actually stops the water from becoming too acidic. Because as it turns out, the ocean has a pH of around 8.2. So if we use normal sand, the water will eventually burn our fish. So I rinsed our special sand to get rid of this white dust, added it into the tank, and then pushed it up against the burrow to hold it in place. And then removed some because I always add in way too much. Now we aren't going to add in too much more to this tank because we're going to rescue our fish first and add in his decorations later on when we design them. But we're still getting all of this white dust everywhere. So I siphoned it all out and added in a couple of stones to help our fish feel safer. And now we can finally start adding in some reverse osmosis water, which is basically a fancy type of super clean water. Now that the tank is half full, it is time for us to actually put some salt into here, but we can't put the salt directly into the tank. Whew, stuff's kind of heavy. If you just throw salt straight into the tank, it will all sit at the bottom and not mix in properly. And if our little fish swims into a pile of salt,
Hell no, man.
so instead, we need to mix this all up in a bucket to dissolve it a bit first and then add it all into the tank to mix properly. But as you can see, we're still getting this white dust everywhere and we just added in all our water. So obviously, I don't want to get rid of it all, but hopefully adding in the filter should clear it up overnight and the heater will warm up the water too, so that in the morning, everything is ready for our fish to move in. However, I'm never that lucky. Damn guys, the tank is still kinda dusty, but I had a feeling something like this would happen and already got some stuff that should help. Now guys, even though this dust doesn't look good, it's actually not dangerous for our fish. In fact, this dust is that calcium I told you about earlier, which is extremely important for our fish. And it is literally what the sand is made out of, so we don't really want to get rid of it all. But there are two specific ways we can get it to stop making the water so cloudy. And the first thing we're going to use is this. It's like supposed to be cotton candy floss stuff. Basically, this filter floss is super fluffy and catches dust while still letting water flow through the filter. But this is only half of the battle. We also need this stuff, which is actually a cheat code. You see, the dust in the water is so tiny that it easily just floats around the filter floss and doesn't get caught. But this chemical makes all the dust stick together and form bigger clumps so that they can't get through the filter floss. And as you can see, just 2 hours later, it is completely clear. Damn guys, that worked really well. Now before we test our water to see if it is safe enough for us to actually get our fish into here, I just want to clean up all the dust that is on the sides here with this. And now that the tank is crystal clear, we can finally test if the water is safe enough for our fish. But guys, a big reason why our tank is so dusty is actually because there's no bacteria bacteria or biofilm living on the sand. And that's because this tank hasn't been cycled yet. Cycling a tank is extremely important, and if you get it wrong,
Hell no, man.
basically, when a fish poops or uneaten food starts to rot, it releases ammonia, which is deadly for fish. But over time, bacteria starts to grow in the filter and on the sand, which actually eats this ammonia and turns it into nitrite, which is also deadly for fish. But once again, a different type of bacteria grows and eats this stuff and turns it into nitrate, which isn't too bad for fish. And then we get rid of that nitrate by doing a water change. Now, seeing as this tank is brand new, there should be no deadly chemicals in our water. However, it easily takes like 5 weeks for a tank to cycle. But because today is Christmas Eve, we're going to take a huge risk and rescue our fish anyway, so that he doesn't suffer over the Christmas holidays. He's in the bag. Let's get him home. Oh, poor guy.
He's so scared.
Yeah, he's so scared.
He's beautiful.
Yeah, let's let him get used to our temperature now. He's trying to swim.
Yeah.
Little guy. I think I'm going to call him Jamie. We're going to let Jamie acclimate to the water and keep it dark for him. We'll come back in about 10 minutes and we'll move on to the next step of the process. We can put him into this tub and drip acclimate him for the next 45 minutes. Does he look alright? It's not moving. Is he breathing?
Yeah, he's breathing.
How do you know?
His gills are expanding and
Please don't do what's happened to us with the dinosaurs.
oops. I'm scared he's gonna jump out.
Yeah, they jump, so we gotta be careful. He doesn't know that he can dig now. He's never had enough sand to dig. So what we're gonna do tonight is we're gonna leave him, not even come near him, nothing at all, just completely leave him alone. And then he should start to feel more comfortable tomorrow. And now that we know Jamie the jawfish is safe and finally has somewhere to hide, we need to get started on designing his custom-made Minecraft decorations and put together his blocks so that he can build his burrow when he feels comfortable enough. And guys, I am following the instructions of the fish store and doing something called a fish in cycle. I'm basically adding in half of this liquid bacteria, which should help our tank cycle much quicker than the 5 weeks I mentioned earlier, all while also having our fish in the tank at the same time. Well, at least I hope it helps. Anyway, I switched on my computer and opened up a program called Fusion 360, which is basically where you can design literally anything you want and eventually 3D print it. But after about an hour of figuring out how I wanted his tank to look, I started wondering if there was a better way to do this. You know, like something where I can see what I'm making while making it, like inside of actual Minecraft. And as it turns out, it might actually be possible. Guys, I tried to record this for you, but only managed to get like 75% of the screen somehow. But I want Jamie to build his home at the bottom of a cliff, as he naturally feels safer with tall walls around him with a flat floor. I even added in a minecart for him that goes around this big monument here. And of course, the monument is for the filter and heater, which we will actually put inside of here with the spray bar sticking out. And now that our build is finished, I discovered this other program called Mineways that you can copy your world into and then take whatever you built out of it as a 3D model. And so after placing every single block inside of Minecraft, I then put our build into a different software where I can actually color in every single block and draw on them to look exactly like what we built. And I had to do it twice because the program crashed. I have just finished this off for the second time now, and I have saved it, and it is now 3 in the morning. But I don't know if you guys can hear it, I'm getting a little bit sick now. And after a terrible night of sleep, it's all gone. Again.
we've got to do it. Again.
But after painting every single block for a third time, we can finally get started on 3D printing Jamie's custom-made decorations and begin building the actual blocks he will use to make his home with. Because if you didn't know, finding Minecraft-themed aquarium stuff is actually illegal. However, before we do that, we should check up on him and give him his first meal in his new home.
Well guys, I've got a couple different foods here for him. And we're gonna start off with these.
Now, as you guys saw at the beginning of the video, jawfish have huge personalities and get very comfortable with their owners. So I want to build enough trust with him to eventually take food directly from me. But of course, this will take time and he is still quite nervous. So to start off, we'll give him these little bugs. He can snack on them as they swim around, and they're small enough that they won't mess up the cycle I mentioned earlier.
Guys, check it out. He's in his little makeshift burrow. I just put some cardboard on the sides because he was like chasing his shadows and I don't know, he felt a bit nervous, but...
And so we left Jamie to get more comfortable with his home overnight while we let all his decorations 3D print. But of course, things can never just go smoothly.
Well, that really sucks. Our printer stopped working. That doesn't look too bad. I'm gonna see if we can rescue this in some way, because this is a lot of wasted material if we just throw it away now, because we have to restart.
Basically, there's this stupid design flaw where this piece literally pulls the wires out of the machine while running. So I took it off, updated the software, and then counted every single layer that had already printed one by one, and then made the printer start again from that point.
Well, while we let our printer do its thing, we can go check up on Jamie, guys, and there's some exciting news with him. He started building his home under the rock. Now, obviously, it's in the wrong place. We want him to do it over here, and we'll be able to get him to move later on. But for now, I just want to leave him alone and make sure he feels safe and comfortable. But we still need to feed him, and I've got something else for him. We've got some myces, which are just little shrimp, pretty much. Look at them go. So let's add them in, and he should love these.
Now, of course, Jamie is still quite nervous, but seeing food is enough to lure him out.
It's okay, boy, you're safe here.
And thanks to having even a makeshift burrow, he even feels safe enough to dart out, grab a bite, and dive back in, just like he would in the wild.
So sweet.
But there is a bit of an issue with him building here, like I mentioned earlier. See, this sand is very loose. It keeps falling back into his burrow, which not only irritates him, but means that the rock he is hiding under could fall on top of him if he digs too much. However, there is a way we can get him to move to that burrow we put in earlier. Like I've said, these guys need to build their homes with blocks, but this tank has nothing inside of it. So if we put even one block near this entrance, he might see it and start building over there, thinking that there are more nearby. And as it turns out, the first night I filmed him digging around is also the night he finally feels that this is his home. He spends the rest of his night keeping an eye out for predators and starts to dig out the sand I put in there to claim this as his burrow. Now that Jamie has moved into his new home, we can finally get started on putting his Minecraft blocks together so that he can start building his home however he wants. We have two types of blocks for him. The first type are normal Minecraft blocks. I designed and 3D printed each of these for him and filled them up with his sand so that they sink and are easy enough for him to move around. But of course, we need to make sure he has a variety of different blocks and textures for him. So I also got these porcelain slabs that look like stone, grass, dirt, wood, and sand and glued some together to make blocks for him to work with. And of course, we can also put together his custom-made background now that it is finished. But seeing as our 3D printer stopped working the other day, we actually got kinda lucky, because now I can fill up all these gaps with extra slabs so that his background doesn't float away. And with everything being finished, we can add it all into Jamie's tank and see his reaction. Hey buddy, it's a bit dusty, isn't it? Naturally, Jamie wasn't too happy with all the renovations and overnight started excavating all the sand that fell into his burrow. Check it out guys, Jamie grabbed this block last night, which means he's ready to start building. Now, seeing as Jamie is basically telling us he wants his blocks, let's add them in and see what he uses them for. But instead of just dropping the blocks in the water, I thought it would also be a good idea to put a couple trees around him at the same time so that he feels safe enough to come out of his burrow to grab his blocks. And it seems to have worked because he started grabbing some blocks. But before he really gets started, he answered a question that I have been wondering about. How does he keep his burrow clean? And I can tell you, picking it up in his mouth and spitting it out is not what I thought he would do. But after that, he started moving in every single block he could get his little jaws on and started to build out his home. However, this is when I noticed something that was really bothering him. He's trying to build something on the sand here, but because these blocks are so smooth, they just keep on sliding down into his burrow. And after realizing this, I gave him every single block we have in the morning, which shouldn't slide as much. And I also gave him a huge breakfast so that he'd have enough energy to build over the next few days. And once Jamie came out to see what had caused all the commotion, his jaw literally dropped open. And once the shock wore off, he immediately got to work building the front door to his house for the rest of the day. However, the very next morning, Jamie had left his burrow, something that jawfish do not do unless there is a massive problem with their home. Let's see what's going on. Well, he has put a whole bunch of sand along the sides here. This wasn't here before. I think he doesn't like that there's light here coming through the actual thickness of the glass and then going in there at night. I think that might be the issue. However, if it weren't for the fact that Jamie can build his home to suit his needs, I never would have thought to remove his burrow and discover what's actually going on. Guys, I just did a water test because it smelled kind of bad. This is really bad. I'm doing a water change right now. Between our tank not being completely cycled and the fact that I gave Jamie way too much food yesterday, our water parameters have gone to above deadly levels. This is the reason why he fled his burrow. Because I had mistakenly made it toxic simply because I wanted him to have enough energy to build. I did a 50% water change, completely cleaned out every single piece of poop or old food I could find, cleaned and added more bacteria to the filter, and gave him an emergency dose of Prime, which protects his body from all the toxic chemicals. And after gently guiding him to his burrow and covering up the entrance for him, he stayed in there for an entire day. Hey Jamie. Hey my boy. Our water change was successful. And the next morning, Jamie was up. With his little head peering between the shell, I knew that he was feeling rested enough to build a little bit so that he could start feeling safer with his home again. And so, for the final time, I gave him all of his blocks. And over the next 2 days, he built up the entrance to what would finally become his sanctuary. To the safety of the dark night, he built up his walls just a little bit more. And today, nearly 1 month later, he is building his third and even fourth level to his burrow entrance. To think that just a few weeks ago, Jamie was curled up in the back corner of a pet store, and now he's confident enough to bob in and out of his burrow and even dart out to grab blocks for his home. And guys, through all these struggles we faced together, Jamie now feels safe enough to grab food directly from me without being scared of the equipment. I have a goal to hit 1 million subscribers this year, so please, if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing and sharing this video with someone who would enjoy it. I have a lot planned for this year, so I'll see you in the next one.